What up, what up? Zach Bradshaw, long-winded guy, dude and beater, Tarzan today, um, talking about price charts. Today I'm looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin, and the concept of this video is really about redrawing uh, chart patterns. There's a couple of different like fundamentals to trading. One is candles, like the shapes of the candles and what they mean, each individual candle. And then there's chart patterns, which, it's not um, the most sophisticated is one way to say it. It's not the most reliable. It's not the end all be all is really the way to say it. But I want to get better at recognizing the patterns and seeing how they play out in different markets. Right now it's only crypto, but Bitcoin and Ethereum do act a little bit differently. I still have like my other indicators, my moving averages and things like that on Bitcoin because I'm used to seeing these and on Bitcoin, and I know how Bitcoin interacts with these different moving averages and what have you. So on Ethereum, I'm just using like a naked chart, and I want to show, there's kind of a follow up to a couple of videos that I've made before, like dueling triangles, and Ethereum can't carry Bitcoin. I don't know what trading journal numbers those are, but they're in the blog post on playingmarkets.com, whatever. And seeing how these different triangles played out. So first, so this one's already saved. So the first, and it was probably on a lower time frame. The first triangle that started to form on Bitcoin was steeper than either one of those that I just had showing right there, either one of those lines. It was more like, I think it was this one. I think it only really worked off of this top properly. Yeah. Um, and it eventually broke out of that one. Then you could draw in another one with a slightly steeper thing once it broke through that area, right? So now it's like, oh, okay, let's just test the top, see how they look, and you might even, it's actually more dramatic out here. And then this one, or one of these last two that I just showed, created a descending triangle that I made a video about and showed like the measure move breakout up to, I think I said like 38 or 38.5. It certainly wasn't this line, but made the breakout, uh, and it was just like a quick pop. So this is on a 4 hour candle, but on a 12 hour or a daily, it didn't stay up there very long at all, right? It went down, or it went up, came down, and like went back under the triangle part of it. And now there are a couple new ones that you could draw, because I mean this is kind of following up on something that Tone Vays was saying, was that, well, you just keep redrawing the triangle until you can't redraw it anymore, and that kind of sounds arbitrary or stupid until you understand what it how these things work. And there's a bunch of interplay between all these different things. So I could draw one right here. Before I would have drawn one right here. I had one drawn right here, and it's broken out above it. See, at first it rejected off of that, but then it's broken out above it. Um, and now I'm going to do one right here. So that first triangle, for Bitcoin's sake, like it was a good sell level. It indicated something to you. It didn't pull back off of it, well enough. Unless you're a day trader, right? I wouldn't have caught this move because I can't. I ain't looking at these things all day. But um, I mean, the wick of this candle by itself is a couple of percent in here, right? And some whales certainly sold that top and bought that. But it's continuing up. That one was only a stutter step and it didn't stop it. And now we have this one up here. Meanwhile, we have some interesting formations coming in on Ethereum. At first, it was this ascending triangle that was kind of ugly to begin with. And, ascending triangles tend to break upwards. Descending triangles, like this one, tend to break downward. That's why you see this measure move here. And right, I can make a measure move off of this one too and say, okay, we have a projection up here, probably like close to where we're at right now, maybe a little bit higher, maybe up to 18, depending on how you drew it. But now we have, to me, what looks like a potential rising wedge, and a rising wedge breaks down. So it's interesting how these things are playing out. That Ethereum, like I was saying, it doesn't seem like it can carry Bitcoin, and even as it's going like slowly grinding the price up here, it's not like really having a breakout in terms of the volume. There's not a lot of people buying in right now that's going to push the price up to 1,800 or 2,000 or beyond. Like when Bitcoin does, it pops through, um, its breakout areas. And so what I'm starting to think, and that's why I'm making this video. There could be, several follow-up videos to this, where it seems like Ethereum is going to grind, and I could be wrong here, and I might have to redraw something a little bit and do it more like this, right? Or this, or, there's still a rising wedge in here. And see where I think this plays out. But what I think is going to happen, and this is just one hypothesis, when I say I think it's going to happen, I'm like, oh, I give this a 40% chance. So this is one scenario that I see that I'm creating contingency plans for. That's what trading is. So what I think is going to happen is this is going to continue to grind up. It could have a wick that goes up higher, maybe even to 1,800. But then especially on the 12-hour, and this could, I mean, it could just break out right here. It could, my wedge might be stupid, and my ascending triangle, the ascending triangle might just play out, and the wedge is just like, why you drawing wedges on the chart, bro? Because they're not as efficacious a chart pattern. They don't have as high percentages playing out as ascending and descending triangles. But I was actually drawing in this wedge before it broke out. And so I was thinking this was going to be a stutter step target. And I mean, it seems like I was right, right? At the very least, it came up here, came back down here, and it's still somewhat struggling to get above it, though. The way that I had it drawn just a moment ago, I think everything fit into it, but oops, wrong one, wrong one. Right, so it's still, I mean, it's on the line, but it's still really not breaking out above that. And so I think Ethereum's going to grind a little bit higher. It could, I don't think there's going to be enough time for it to make it all the way to 1,600 and stay below this. But what I think is about to happen right now, and then no telling what's next, is that Ethereum is going to start to break down from this. I don't know if it's going to break the full ascending wedge, but I think it's going to break down at whatever time Bitcoin comes up here and has a small rejection or a larger rejection, depending on what it is. I think it's going to potentially start to respect this triangle. And I mean, it could only come down, like $1,000 or a couple $1,000. Nice little 5% move to somewhere in here. I don't know why I chose that level. There's no level there. Let's see. Somewhere like here would make sense. Okay, maybe I was about right. It could just come down to play off these moving averages, because those are moving averages that Bitcoin likes to play off of when it does its ascending or when it does its run-ups. But probably a level like this, where we have this wick coming up to it. We have some price action bouncing off of it either way, right? It was the first rejection on this run up here, 34.5. It seems like the breakout spot here. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, this matches up with Crown's horizontals and from today's video. And I would potentially put in levels here and here to say that Bitcoin is going to play out this area, and its resolution will determine what Ethereum does here. Unless Ethereum gets a crap ton of volume, or there's trading things that I don't fully understand, which is, there's a lot of that stuff. But unless Ethereum starts to get some massive volume and actually pump $200 or something like that, I don't think that it's going to be enough to break Bitcoin just outright quickly through this without at least playing a bounce off of this diagonal that's coming in here. That's new. That's only had 2 touches, and those are wick touches, right? So it's not the best signal, but it's like the same parallel that you get if you come down to this close, and then you get this wick. You get this wick right here, and right almost a touch of this wick. So it seems like this parallel is playing out, even as the steeper ones, existed. So you see a lot of these You might not see them, but I'm seeing a lot of these intersecting at different interesting points, and this is not the most important way to trade. But I'm trying to, learn it, get more familiar with it, and this is great. As I make this video, I might be getting proven wrong as Bitcoin or as Ethereum looks like it might want to climb above this. Now, again, this is just a 1 hour chart, so like it very well may have a wick up here, but then come down and close down in this area. And part of this video, I'm probably gonna send this to you, Henry, right now. I'm probably gonna start to sell some of my small pieces, not a lot of it. Probably. So if this goes up here today, then I am very likely to set this upper band of this wedge as my stop loss. Maybe just a short-term stop loss and maybe a rebuy point as well. But I've already gotten nice trades off of this. I think my last buy on Ethereum was like somewhere in here. And that's a percentage that I want to make sure that I lock in because this very well, whatever dumb patterns I'm drawing in right now, um, it very well, regardless of whatever else, just looking at horizontals, like getting rid of these things because they're not nearly as important as just the horizontal levels. Ethereum, I mean, it very well could come down here and test this before it goes up. So I'd rather lock in above 1500, preferably above 1550, and then wait for a rebuy at 1440, 1450, 1460, somewhere in this range that I could draw right here. So not quite sure what's going to happen, but I did want to draw out the way that these patterns change over time, just to get rid of these and kind of clean it up, not really clean it up, but go back to the original Bitcoin chart patterns that I had here. So this is the most recent one, the one that I'm looking at now. And you see now I'm back on a daily chart, so I'm looking at the higher term time frames because they matter a lot more than the little bit of price action that goes on the 1 hour chart. So if I do the same over here, bring this one back up, and then go back to a higher term time frame like the 12-hour, now you see that it looks like this pattern may break, but I need to see it break and stay above this line on a close, and then I'll say, okay, I think that it's going to. And ascending wedges can also break out positive or negative, and there's probably even a more dramatic measured move off of the ascending wedge if it does break up. Okay, if it breaks down, it's probably coming down. I mean, anywhere in here would be fine, and I'd still be bullish. That'd be a potential buy point. A decision point if it starts to go under those, I'm going to get out quickly because there might be a $600 buy on the table, right? But the way that these play out is going to be interesting. I could see a wick up here, come back down, or I could see Bitcoin just completely disrespect this trend line right here, or version of this ascending triangle. And if it completely disrespects it and Ethereum breaks up, then Bitcoin will at least come up to 42 before it pulls back, and Ethereum's going to go to 18 or 20 or something like that, or 2000 or something like that, and that will be interesting. Just the last one that I wanted to draw in here, before more of this played out, there really wasn't necessarily enough in this area to say that you couldn't go all the way back to here on this triangle at first, in my opinion. So at first this thing was this steep, right? And from my perspective, looking at it now, a triangle that is this steep, right? This would have been the triangle. Let me get the other back. Right, this would have been the triangle right here, and that's an awfully steep triangle to play out, and this is where this measure move probably came in. It's a little bit big for this one, but this seems like a less likely thing to play out. So when I was in here making videos like Ethereum can't carry Bitcoin, this thing looks like it's going to break down because this is a stronger pattern. But a shorter term, super steep descending triangle as compared to triangles like this seem much more powerful and likely to play out. They might have a smaller measure move, I'm not sure that I'm doing measure moves right, but that's what it looks like to me. Might have a smaller measure move because it's at a steeper incline or whatever. I don't know that that's even the case because it seems like this height is all that matters. Whatever. A steeper one seems less likely to play out than these. And so this one, even though it's a little bit less steep, it faked out a breakout basically because it was still too steep, right? It didn't, even though it broke above this and started to go towards this measure move, it did not fully confirm, and even by the end of the day had come back down below inside the triangle overall. Eventually it went up again, but that could have been a really strong rejection that made us come back down here and play around the 30K area, which would have changed the chart narrative. Now we're looking at a steeper triangle that's been built over more time, seems more powerful, and then we have an ascending triangle on Ethereum that the volume signature, even though it's broken above it, it's not really broken out yet. And it looks like it might be turning into, or could potentially turn into, a rising wedge, which is a little bit more likely to break down, whereas an ascending triangle is more likely to break up. So even in this case, it looks like both of these patterns could be playing out, right? They could both play out, as well as the various ones from here, right? So especially you, Henry, since, and everybody should watch these. If you, no, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm still learning how to trade. I'm pretty sucky at it. But Henry, to understand like how you should play the situation or get the rest of going on, this one that's learn to sell. So I guess that's trading journal number 11. Um, Holding bags is another potential one to show you what happens if you don't sell and it goes to the bottom of the triangle before it plays out the next thing. Um, but especially, where'd it go? Especially learn to sell, and I think pretty patterns would make sense too, even interplay, but especially dueling triangles. I don't know why I couldn't see that when I scrolled to the top, but dueling triangles and whatever this one was called down here, learn to sell. So that you can right fold this area over whether it goes up or down, right? There's percentages to be made. This thing is just ranging and arranging. So look at these, and I know since you're starting to potentially do the trading journal thing this week and maybe even do some more of those terms, then these two will help you execute on the crap that I was talking about in this one. So I'll shut up. Let me know if you have any questions.